There is a building in this country. You have never heard of it. The government doesn't list it. No address, no name, no records. But inside that building, there is a room. And in that room, there is a man who knows every single lie you have ever told yourself. And he has been waiting for you specifically. This is the story of the last person who walked into that room and what they found inside themselves. Stay with me, because you could be the next person. There was a man and his name was Daniel Mercer, 38 years old, former data analyst, lived in a 2-bedroom apartment in Columbus, Ohio. By every measurable standard, Daniel was a good man. He paid his taxes. He called his mother on Sundays. He held the elevator for strangers. He had never been arrested, never fired, never cheated on anyone. He believed genuinely and completely that he was one of the good ones. That belief was about to destroy him. It started with a letter, not an email, not a text, a physical letter, on thick cream paper, hand-delivered to his apartment door at 5:17 a.m. on a Tuesday. No return address. His name written in handwriting that looked strangely familiar. And the letter read, "Mr. Mercer, you have been selected for a voluntary assessment. Please arrive at 1400 Weller Industrial Park, Building C, this Friday at 9 a.m. You are not required to come, but we believe you will. People like you always do." That last line bothered him. People like you always do. What did that mean? What kind of a person was he? He Googled the address, but he found nothing. He asked his neighbors. Nobody had seen who delivered it. He told himself he wouldn't go. But finally he went there. The industrial park looked abandoned. Rusted fences, broken windows on most buildings. But Building C was different. Clean, freshly painted, a single door with a small plate that said only, "The Assessment Center, please enter." A woman in a gray blazer met him inside. She didn't introduce herself. She said, "We are glad you came, Daniel. Most people take longer to convince themselves it's safe." He asked who they were. She said, "We study honesty, specifically the gap between who people think they are and who they actually are." He said, "That sounds like psychology." She smiled and said, "No, it's nothing like psychology." She led him down a long hallway. White walls, no windows, doors on either side, all closed, all numbered. He noticed something wrong almost immediately. The numbers on the doors were not in order. These were like 14, 3, 91, 7, 44, 2. He asked about it. she said. "Those aren't room numbers. Those are years." He stopped walking, but she kept walking. He stared at the doors, at the numbers, and a thought formed in his head. Quiet, private, not spoken out loud. "These are the years I would most want to forget." The woman, still walking, her back to him, said, "Yes, that's exactly right." Daniel stood completely still. She hadn't turned around. She couldn't have heard him. He hadn't made a sound. He was just thinking in his mind. He almost said nothing. But she had already stopped at the last door and was waiting, and the moment had passed the way moments like that always do. Too fast to hold, just slow enough to leave a mark. And Daniel followed him through. The last door at the end of the hallway had no number. The woman stopped, turned to him, and said, "Inside this room is a man. He will tell you things about yourself. You will want to argue. You will want to leave. Please understand, the only way out is through." Daniel asked what that meant. She opened the door and stepped aside. Daniel walked in. The room was small, 2 chairs facing each other, a single lamp, no windows, no cameras, at least none he could see. And in the chair across from him sat an old man, maybe 80, thin, pale, eyes the color of dirty ice cream. Daniel noticed immediately that the man was already looking at him, not turning to look at him as he walked in, but already looking, like he had been looking at that exact spot in the doorway for a very long time. Daniel sat down. He watched the old man for a full 30 seconds. The old man did not blink once, not even once. And then, before Daniel had opened his mouth, before he had formed a single word, the old man said, "You are not a good person, Daniel, but you are not a bad one either. You are something far more dangerous. You are a person who has made peace with their worst moments by simply forgetting them." Daniel had not spoken. He hadn't said his name. He hadn't introduced himself. He hadn't said a single word since entering the room. He started to say, "How do you know my name?" The old man held up one hand, just one finger, and said, "Room 14. And then it happened, the thing that made Daniel's breath stop completely. The room around him shifted, not physically, not like a movie effect. It was more like a memory that you didn't know you had, suddenly becomes so vivid it replaces the present moment. He was 14 years old, middle school hallway. A boy named Marcus was being shoved into a locker by 3 other kids. Daniel had been standing 10 feet away. He had watched, and then he had walked away. He had never thought about Marcus again, not once in 24 years. The room snapped back. The old man said, "You told yourself you were just a kid, that it wasn't your fight. You believed that for 24 years. Marx took his life at 19, believing he never had a single person stand up for him, not once." Daniel felt sick. He said he didn't know in a barely audible tone. The old man said, "That's the point. You chose not to know. There's a difference." Daniel tried to stand up. He looked down at his hands to steady himself, and when he looked back, he saw himself sitting in the old man's chair, his own face, his own posture, his own hands folded in his own lap, looking at him with the old man's eyes. The expression on the face was not angry, not sad. It was patient. Like it had been waiting for him to notice for a very long time. Daniel blinked. The old man was back, pale, still, not blinking. He said as if nothing had happened, "Room 3. Age 3. His earliest memory. His father yelling, his mother crying. He had always told people, told himself that his childhood was fine, that his father was strict but fair. But in that room, in that flash of clarity, he saw himself at 3 years old, in the kitchen doorway, watching his father grab his mother by the wrist and say things that no child should hear. And he saw himself decide, even at 3, to close the door and go back to bed. And he saw himself do it again at 7, at 11, at 14. The room snapped back. The old man said nothing this time, just watched him. Daniel's voice cracked. He said, "This isn't fair. I was a child." The old man said, "Yes, but you were also 23 when she called you crying, and you said you were busy. You were watching football, Daniel. You watched the whole game." It went on for what felt like hours. And the next thing was room 44. A woman he had dated for 3 years. She had said she loved him every single day. He had said it back. He had never meant it once, not even once. He knew it then. He knew it now. Room 7. A homeless man outside, full bag of groceries in Daniel's hand. He had said he didn't have anything, then gotten into his car. Then the old man said, "Room 29, and Daniel froze this time. Because room 29 was different. He was 29 years old. His co-worker, a woman named Priya, was being pushed out of her position by their manager. Politics, periodism, it was obvious and it was wrong. And Daniel had spoken up. He had gone to HR. He had written a 2-page statement. He had put his job on the line for her. Priya got to keep her job. She had cried when she thanked him. Daniel had always considered this the best thing he had ever done. The room held the memory still. Let him look at it, and then it zoomed in. The room didn't tell Daniel whether that thought had driven the action. It just showed him it was there and let him sit with the fact that he had never, not once in 9 years, asked himself that question. The old man said nothing. For the first time, he looked almost sorry. Daniel said, "But I helped her. The outcome was real. The help was real." The old man said, "Yes, the outcome was real. I'm not disputing that." He let the silence finish the sentence for him, because here's what the silence said. "You don't know who you are, Daniel, and neither do I. And that uncertainty is the most honest thing in this room." Daniel sat with that for a long time. It felt worse than the others. The others had been about failure. This one was about not being able to trust his own best moment. Then the old man said, "Room 91. Room 91 didn't show Daniel a memory. It showed him a face, a woman early 30s, someone he had never seen before. She was sitting at a kitchen table, reading something, a letter maybe. Her hands were shaking. The room snapped back. Daniel said, "I don't know her. I have never seen her before in my life." The old man looked at him with those unblinking pale eyes and said, "Not yet." Then he said nothing more about room 91 ever. The old man leaned forward in his chair. The lamp flickered once, and the old man said very slowly, "Nothing. That's the answer. You do nothing, because the rooms I showed you, they are already done. You can't fix them. You can't go back. The people you hurt have either healed on their own or they haven't. Your guilt doesn't help them either way." Daniel stared at him. He said, "Then what was the point of all this?" The old man said, "The point is what you do with the next room." He gestured to a door that had not been in the room before, set into the far wall, no number on it. The old man said, "That door leads to room 0, the only room that hasn't happened yet, the room of everything you're going to do from this moment forward." He stood up. He was smaller standing than Daniel had imagined, almost fragile. Daniel noticed in the weak light of the lamp that the old man's shadow on the wall didn't move when he did. It stayed seated. Daniel looked at it for exactly 2 seconds, and he looked away, because some part of him understood that looking at it longer would be a mistake he couldn't undo. He said, "Most people who come here leave and do exactly the same things they have always done. The guilt fades, the comfort returns, the looking away continues. and a few to not. He walked to the door and held it open. Daniel could see nothing on the other side. Pure white, no depth, no floor visible, no ceiling. He asked, "What happens if I walk through?" The old man said, "You become someone who knows they have been asleep and can never go back to sleep again. Every moment from now on will be fully conscious, fully accountable, fully awake." He looked at Daniel directly. Most people find that more terrifying than anything I showed them in those other rooms, because it's easy to feel bad about your past. It's almost comfortable. The real horror is being completely awake in the present, where every choice is happening right now, and you can no longer pretend you didn't know better. Daniel stood at the threshold, white light ahead, the familiar dark room behind, the old man waiting, and the story ends here. Not because we don't know what Daniel chose, but because the only version of this story that matters is yours. The rooms in this story, they are not fiction. Every single one of us has them, numbered, locked, collecting dust. The moments we walked away, the people we chose not to see, the truths we were too comfortable to face. The horror of the story isn't the building. It's not the old man. The horror is that a part of you already knew your room numbers. The horror is that a part of you already knew your room numbers. Before you sleep tonight, ask yourself one question. If someone showed me every room, would I walk through the last door, or would I go